This is PHS Studio.
We're excited to host some very special people that are important to many of you in the audience and important to our country. Today we are here to honor our veterans with our first Veterans Day Assembly. So veterans and family members, thank you and welcome to Page Middle School. Students, as we go through this assembly, we want to remind you that this is not a pep rally. This is a reverent type performance, and we need to treat it with the respect of being silent, listening attentively, and keeping your hands and feet to yourselves. To our military personnel and retired personnel, this is not quite military precision, but you try moving 1,300 13-year-olds and you'll see it's pretty good. I'm proud of these students and our teachers for getting everybody in here. What you're going to see today is largely student-led. The JROTC at Page High School has done the major work in getting this organized for us, so we'd like to give them a big thank you. The JROTC at Page High School is led by Colonel Goslowski and Sergeant Larson. The band performance today is a combination of Page Middle School 8th graders and the Page High School band under the direction of Taylor Krollmeyer and Evan Burton and Carolyn Hankins. And our performance from our chorus is 7th and 8th grade students under the direction of Brock Mason. We're also honored today to have Captain. Do you want to be called Captain or Doctor? Doctor. Okay. So we're here today. We have Dr. Patrick Boyd with us, who is a retired captain, so he'll be giving our remarks today. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Cadet Major Mimi Bushnell.
Good morning. I am Cadet Major Mimi Bushnell, the Page High Patriot Battalion Executive Officer. I am honored to be speaking with you today on such a great occasion. We are here today to pay tribute to our community's military service members, both past and present, and to recognize the sacrifices they made to fulfill their obligation of duty and honor to our country. Today, we remember the courageous men and women that took a sacred oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We recognize those that served our country, and we pay tribute to those who laid such costly sacrifices upon the altar of freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove all headgear for the posting of the national colors and remain standing for the singing of the national anthem by Page Middle School Choir under the direction of Mr. Brockwell Nason. Post the colors.
Post the colors. Order. Colors. presents arms. Order, arms. About face. Left face. Forward, march. Small half right, march. Left, left. Left, march.
Present arms.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, stay does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of brave.
Order arms. Thank you, and please be seated. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, in 1918, an armistice was established between the Allied nations and Germany, bringing an end to World War I. November 11th of the following year became known as Armistice Day. However, in 1954, a congressional decision ruled that November 11th instead be celebrated as Veterans Day, a day to remember all those who served our country, and we continue that tradition here today. In this nation of approximately 332 million, only 1.3 million people serve in our military. This number includes our active duty, our reserves, and our National Guard. Our nation is protected by only a handful willing to defend our rights and freedoms. For all their sacrifice, we have an obligation to thank them for their service. Our ceremony today is not only about honoring our veterans, but to bring awareness of the impact their service has for all of us because of our dedicated veterans like here. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Page High Patriot Battalion Commander, Heather Brantley.
Good morning, everyone. I am Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Heather Brantley, the Patriot Battalion Commander. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the Page Middle Veterans Day program. We have many alumni, friends, and family who have served and continue to serve in our nation's military, many of which who are here today. It is our honor to recognize all who have joined us here. Finally, let us not forget to honor the veteran family members. Their tireless commitment and support of their loved ones enables our veterans to better serve our nation's defense. I'd also like to welcome the honored guests seated to my left. Page Middle Principal Dr. Eric Lifsey, Page Middle Assistant Principal Chris Hawkins, and our guest speaker, Captain Patrick Boyd. To recognize the veterans of each service, the band, under direction of Taylor Kohlmeyer, has prepared a medley of the service songs. As the band plays the Armed Forces Salute, we would like to ask all our veterans in the audience to please be prepared to stand as we call your branch name and your service song is played. Students, this includes you if you have a family member who is a veteran or is currently serving in the nation's military. The United States Army. The United States Marines. The United States Navy. The United States Coast Guard. The United States Air Force. Let's give our veterans one more big round of applause. I would now like to introduce our guest of honor. Captain Patrick Boyd is a distinguished military graduate of the University of Alabama ROTC program. He was commissioned as an armor officer in 1994. Captain Boyd is a graduate of the Armor Officer Basics course, Infantry Mortar Leaders course, and Airborne School. During his time on active duty, Captain Boyd was stationed at Fort Knox, Kentucky, Fort Benning, Georgia, and Fort Hood, Texas. He served in the 2nd Armored Division and 4th Infantry Division as a tank platoon leader, infantry mortar platoon leader, and battalion logistics officer. Captain Boyd left active duty in 1998 and was honorably discharged in March 2003 before joining Williamson County Schools that year. Please help me welcome our guest speaker, Captain Patrick Boyd.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Livesey, for the invitation today. I'm honored to join Page Middle for their Veterans Day ceremony. I also want to say a special thanks to Cadet Brantley and to Cadet Bushnell for their leadership of the Page High JROTC program. What an impressive group of young people. And I know that I will sleep well tonight knowing that our nation is in great hands. But our most sincere thanks goes to our distinguished guests on the floor. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your time and experiences serving our great nation. And students, I hope you were listening closely as our veterans were recognized. I hope you heard all the different branches of service that were recognized, when and where they served, whether in war, peace, stateside, or abroad. And I also want you to notice how many of your classmates in the audience are related to veterans. For myself, I'm a peacetime veteran. I was in ROTC at the University of Alabama during Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and I left active duty prior to September 11, 2001. But not a day like today goes by without me reflecting and remembering. I remember those whose service and sacrifice far exceeded mine. I remember each night that someone is on radio watch, that junior officers, NCOs, and enlisted servicemen and women are on staff duty or charge of quarters. I remember when the weather conditions are awful, whether they're hot, cold, wet, dry, or people are hungry or thirsty, that somewhere somebody has it worse than I do. This is one of the gifts that my service has given me, and that is the gift of perspective. Perspective on what is important, on what matters, perspective on things that I missed, that the folks on the floor missed, that we will never have the opportunity to get back, to recognize how precious our time together is. That perspective comes over time, though. When I was 21, I didn't think for a minute what my parents must have thought watching their firstborn son get on a plane to Fort Lewis, Washington. When I was 22, I didn't think for a minute how my in-laws must have felt watching a soldier drive off with their baby girl to Fort Hood, Texas. And all the time that I spent with my fellow soldiers, I don't remember any conversations about politics or policies or ideologies or anything of that nature. What I remember most are the conversations about home and the conversations about families. Homes and families who lived in places like Pocatello, Idaho, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Elkhart, Indiana, North Tonawanda, New York, Brownsville, Texas, Elko, Nevada, Compton, California, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Tyler, Texas, visiting the home and family of my friend, Sergeant Eric Ferguson, one of my soldiers who was killed in peacetime in a military vehicle accident in October of 1997. In addition to this perspective, service has also given one other gift. And that gift is that service is a gift itself that gives in perpetuity. The gifts that are included in service are living up to a standard, taking ownership, eating last or not at all, being part of something bigger than yourself, and probably my favorite quote, which is how you do anything is how you do everything. Gifts like service begin with a very simple act, students. They begin with volunteering, taking a first step, raising your hand, volunteering to be part of something bigger than yourself, doing your job, playing your role, and making things better. And student service doesn't have to begin or even include the military. It did for me, and for that I will be forever grateful. It did for our honored guests here today, and we are gathered to demonstrate our gratitude for them for their service. Students, my challenge to you is that as you continue your journey, I encourage you to be part of something bigger than yourself, to give selflessly, to demonstrate gratitude, and to live up to a standard. If somewhere along your road in life you find yourself alone, out front by yourself, and not knowing what to do, just keep moving forward. You've got veterans like those gathered here today, walking behind you, cheering you every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd, for your remarks and for your continued service to both our country and our community. As a token of our gratitude for your time here today, please accept this gift on behalf of the cadet leadership here at Page Middle.
Written in 1893, America the Beautiful has become one of the most iconic songs to represent America. It depicts the natural beauty of the American landscape while also referencing America as a refuge for all. Therefore, we must give our deepest gratitude to all those who have served and sacrificed to protect it. And now the band will play America the Beautiful. honor ceremony, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the retirement of the colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Command Sergeant Major, retire the colors.
Colors, post. Presents arms. Ma'am, Cadet Captain Noah Smith requests permission to retire the colors.
Retire the colors.
Order, arms. Presents arms. Order, arms. About face. Close reverse, march. Right face. Forward, hard.
Thank you, and please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for helping us honor our veterans today. Before we dismiss the middle schoolers, we are going to dismiss the veterans first. Veterans, if you would please follow the escorts back to the front office. We thank you once again and hope you enjoyed our assembly.
This is PHS Studio.